so much, as always, for joining me today. As you know, it means so very much to me. I hope that you're doing incredibly well and you're enjoying this early start to the fall season. I know I am. And I have to let you know that I have held off as long as physically possible. But I have to film a spooky story for you today. I just have to do it. I cannot control myself. So I'm sorry. It's a little early. There will be more. But I'm just too excited about all things autumn and Halloween. So I hope you understand, and I hope you enjoy this video and this spooky story. So today I am going to tell you about a place that used to be known as the Vermont Asylum for the Insane. It has been renamed and is now known as the Brattleboro Retreat. So if you hear me use one or both of those terms interchangeably, please know that I am talking about the same spot. Okay. And there are some stories and legends of spooky tales and spooky happenings that took place at this campus. And we're going to talk about it. Alright, let's get into it. So, located just north of downtown Brattleboro, Vermont, lies what is now known as the Brattleboro Retreat. It is situated along the Retreat Meadows inlet of the West River. Founded in 1834, the retreat was the first facility for the care of the mentally ill in Vermont, and it was one of the first 10 private psychiatric hospitals in the United States. Because of that, it is considered a pioneer in the field of mental health care in the United States. Now, the Brattleboro Retreat, originally, again known as the Vermont Asylum for the Insane, is considered one of the most haunted places in the state, with a history of eerie occurrences and ghost sightings. The Gothic Retreat Tower and adjoining cemetery on its grounds have become hubs of alleged paranormal phenomena over the years. So, again, in the late 19th century, the facility was renamed, the Brattleboro Retreat, and that was in order to eliminate confusion with the state-run Vermont State Asylum for the Insane. And we're going to talk a little bit about that facility later on. And so back to Brattleboro Retreat. This mental health and addictions treatment facility spanned more than 1,000 acres. It's pretty crazy. Taking its inspiration from the York Retreat in England, the Brattleboro Retreat originated as a humane alternative to the otherwise demeaning and sometimes dangerous treatment of people with mental disorders. The focus is on moral treatment, an idea that was derived from a Quaker concept introduced by William Tuke in the late 18th century, which approaches mental disorders as diseases and not as character flaws or the results of sin. This remains the institution's guiding philosophy. So, yes, this facility is still open today. We'll get to that later as well. The facility was seen as revolutionary for its powers as natural remedies for patients, rather than the harsh punishments utilized at other facilities of the time. The Brattleboro Retreat has been known throughout its history for adhering to the concepts of moral treatment while integrating advanced methods of care. The administration established the following firsts among psychiatric hospitals in the United States. Patient-produced newspapers, a bowling alley, a chapel, theater, gymnasium, recreation fields, patient chorus, book discussion groups, outing club, working hospital dairy farm, patient-managed enterprises, and the first swimming pool at a U.S. psychiatric hospital. Patients enjoyed frequent outings, and the community would often join the patients for events. The facility had some secure units, but it is not separated from the community by any kind of fencing. Many aspects of the Brattleboro Retreat's medical care and physical design have been adopted by hospitals all around the world. So far it sounds like a pretty special place. You might be wondering where the haunted happenstances take place. It's coming up. As a form of occupational therapy, patients even constructed the iconic 65-foot retreat tower themselves, brick by brick by brick by brick by brick by brick. However, as mental health practices advanced, questionable treatments like lobotomies and electroshock therapy were also implemented at the Brattleboro facility. And so, going back to that iconic 65-foot retreat tower, you might imagine that this is the most notorious building on the entire campus. It is also where most of the hauntings allegedly take place. The tower was built in 1887, and at the time, doctors believed that physical labor could help mentally ill patients regain stability. Groups of patients were put to work building this large stone tower, and the tower was meant to provide a scenic overlook of the asylum grounds. However, many of the patients chose to use the tower in a different way. I'm not going to elaborate. I assume you can read between the lines and what I mean when I say that. The tower was sealed off and it remains closed today. It is opened a few times a year to allow the public to climb the spiral staircase and to take in the amazing views from the top. There have been several reports of a ghostly figure jumping from the top of the tower, but the apparition always disappears before it hits the ground. The cemetery tombstones on campus date back as far as the 1800s and are at this time in poor condition. Visitors to both the Brattleboro Retreat Tower and the cemetery report feeling strong emotions of uneasiness. Some have even said that they saw fleeting shadows or images in the corners of their eyes. Many of the graves are marked with only numbers or the word unknown. There is a registry of the deaths that occurred at the retreat, yet there are far more names than there are graves. I'm going to say that one more time. There is a registry of the deaths that occurred at the retreat, yet there are far more names than there are graves. horrors of traditional asylums in the 1800s, it could not fully escape the stigma and tragedy that would haunt many mental health care institutions of that period. Though approaches were more enlightened than most facilities at the time, invasive procedures still occurred within the walls that perhaps left restless spirits clinging to the grounds. Today, as I mentioned, the Brattleboro Retreat still treats patients suffering with mental health issues. Recent innovative programs include a new inpatient unit for LGBT individuals, as well as a partial hospital and residential program for uniformed service professionals, such as corrections, fire, first responders, military, and police. A full staff of doctors, psychologists, psychiatric nurses, social workers, and other medical personnel continue this tradition of patient care. So that is the Brattleboro Retreat, but as I mentioned earlier, there is another facility in the state of Vermont that I will tell you a little bit about. This particular facility, in my opinion, seems much more heinous, and I think you'll agree when I tell you a little bit about it. We're not going to spend too much time getting into those specifics because once you hear, you'll understand. But I did want to include this as part of the story today because they're both in the state of Vermont, and there are instances of hauntings at both facilities, allegedly. So, the eerie tales extend beyond Brattleboro to the former Vermont State Hospital for the Insane, which is located in Waterbury, Vermont. Under the direction of Dr. Eugene Stanley in the early 1900s, patients endured dramatic treatments like forced sterilization, hydrotherapy, and electroshock in the name of eugenics. Stanley was a prominent advocate of the now discredited eugenics movement, which aimed to eliminate so-called undesirable traits through selective breeding and forced procedures. Staff and visitors to the state hospital have reported encountering the souls of tormented patients still trapped within the asylum's walls. Built in the 1890s as the Vermont Hospital for the Insane, it later became the Vermont State Hospital. Severely damaged by Tropical Storm Irene in 2011, the hospital was permanently closed. After restoration, the facility now houses multiple state agencies. However, not all spirits tied to the old state psychiatric hospitals in Vermont are nefarious in nature. The former nurses' dormitory of a long-shuttered tuberculosis treatment center was converted into the current Vermont Police Academy. Recruits training there have reportedly been visited by a benevolent ghost of a nurse named Mary, who once cared for patients before dying of tuberculosis herself. So that's all I'm going to get into with the Vermont State Hospital. You can look it up if you are interested in learning more about these horrendous practices, but I think just a sentence or two kind of gets you the full picture of what happened and shows how truly terrifying that facility was, perhaps in comparison to the privately owned Brattleboro Retreat. So, two facilities, both located in Vermont, with extremely different practices practices and approaches. I do want to share my sources for where I got this information. You can learn more at onlyinyourstate.com and vermonter.com. Again, if you want to dig more into either of these stories. And the reason why I wanted to cover this, not just because it's that time of year, though that is a big part of it, but also because I drove by the formerly known as Vermont State Hospital in Waterbury. And I thought that would be such a great thing to learn more about and to cover a story on. And I'll tell you that it is a beautiful building and campus. You can go walk around it. It's a very public space right in the center of Waterbury town. And I saw lots of people with their dogs just enjoying the space because, again, it did close as a psychiatric facility in 2011 after a bad flooding storm. I didn't realize how heinous the history was of this location, but now I do. So anyway, that's what I know about this facility. I do remember reading, and these are not credible sources, that's why I didn't include it in this story, but I do remember reading lots of comments from people just sharing their gratitude for the closure of the Vermont State Hospital, just due to the treatment of patients. And I guess while it probably got better, it doesn't sound like it was ever a really good place for people with mental health issues. That is my understanding. And again, I don't know how credible that is, but I would believe it based on what I know about many mental health facilities, the histories of them. I just wouldn't be surprised. Unfortunately, it is actually really refreshing to me to hear that the Brattleboro Retreat is so different and is still functioning and in many cases highly regarded. I don't think we have enough places like that for people who are seeking care. So, anyway, let me know if you have heard of either of these locations, Brattleboro Retreat or the Vermont State Hospital, or if you know of any other stories with these types of care facilities involved, and if there are any sort of haunted stories that